Okay, so picture this. You are at really high-stakes business dinner.
Oh, stressful right out of the gate.
Right. The plates are beautifully arranged, the wine is flowing, and the chef's signature appetizer arrives. You take a bite. And the CEO looks across the table at you and asks, "So, how is it?"
And you just completely freeze?
You freeze. You offer this polite, slightly panicked smile, and you just say, it is delicious.
Yeah, we've all been there.
And then, 10 minutes later, the main course lands. Same question. Your answer. Wow, this is delicious.
Just playing the hits.
Exactly. By the time dessert shows up, in this room full of, sophisticated professionals, your vocabulary has suddenly shrunk to that of a toddler. You're trapped in this delicious loop, just sounding like a broken record.
It is an incredibly common trap, actually, and it induces a very specific kind of anxiety, I think.
Oh, totally.
Because the food is complex, right? You can taste the effort the chef put into it, but you just feel like you lack the basic linguistic tools to articulate that experience.
Right, it's like seeing a beautiful landscape and only being able to say, the trees are nice.
Exactly. You feel like you're doing the food and, honestly, yourself a massive disservice.
Which is why today we are fixing that. We are doing a deep dive to build what we call the Ultimate Foodie Toolkit.
I love that name.
Right. Our mission here is to fundamentally upgrade your food vocabulary so you never have to lean on that delicious crutch ever again.
It's about giving you a magic formula to describe any meal in the world perfectly.
Confidently, too, like the observant adult you actually are. So let's unpack this. Why do we default to delicious in the first place?
Well, to solve this, we first have to look at the psychology behind it. It doesn't really matter if English is your native language or if you're just learning it. Delicious basically acts as a cognitive safety net.
A safety net, meaning it's just easy.
Yeah, exactly. When we first learn to express pleasure regarding food, it is usually the very first positive adjective we are handed. It requires absolutely zero analytical thought.
I mean, I definitely use it without thinking.
We all do. But the inherent flaw with delicious is that it transfers absolutely zero data to the listener.
It's basically just a blanket statement that means I am currently experiencing pleasure.
Precisely. Think about it. If you call a slice of dark chocolate cake delicious, and then, in the next breath call a fresh garden salad delicious, you have given the person listening to you no sensory information whatsoever.
Right, because they're completely different things.
Completely different ends of the culinary spectrum. One is dense, rich, and sweet, while the other is leafy, bright, and crunchy. By applying the same word to both, you just erase the actual experience of eating them.
I always think of it like describing a movie. Saying your dinner was delicious is exactly like telling a friend you saw a good movie this weekend.
Oh, that is a great analogy.
It tells them absolutely nothing about the genre.
Yeah.
Was it a terrifying psychological thriller? A hilarious rom-com? Like a 3-hour historical epic? They have no idea.
Right, they're just left guessing.
But the formula we're going to explore today is like handing someone the genre, a spoiler-free plot summary, and your personal review, all in one breath.
That is a phenomenal way to look at it. And, especially in Western dining culture, providing that specific sensory detail is highly valued.
Really? Like people actually care that much about the detail?
Oh, absolutely. It shows that you are present, that you're actively engaging with the meal rather than just passively consuming calories. People want to know about the flavor profile, yes, but they also really want to know about the mouthfeel.
The mouthfeel. It's an intense word.
It is, but they want to know the physical mechanics of eating the food.
Okay, so let's get right into those mechanics. What is the secret to unlocking this level of detail without, needing to pay for culinary school?
It relies on a very straightforward framework. The magic formula is simply taste plus texture plus recommendation.
Taste plus texture plus recommendation.
Okay. Just those three building blocks. If you stack them together, you instantly sound observant and articulate.
Let's ground this in reality before we get into the really advanced vocabulary. If we apply this to something incredibly basic, like, an everyday apple, how does that shift the conversation?
Well, instead of holding it up and saying, this apple is delicious, you run it through the formula. So first, taste. This apple is very sweet.
Okay, sweet. Got it.
Second, texture. It is incredibly crunchy.
Crunchy.
And third, recommendation. You really have to try one. So you put it together and say, this apple is very sweet. It is incredibly crunchy. You really have to try one.
Wow, it is a night and day difference. You've instantly transported the listener into your shoes.
Exactly.
Like they can actually imagine the sugar hitting their tongue. They can almost hear the crunch echoing in their head. and you finish with a really confident directive.
It creates a sensory bridge between you and the listener, and because it flows logically, it sounds entirely natural.
So the trick is just making sure you have the right vocabulary to plug into those 3 slots.
Right. Taste is obviously the foundation, but most of us are stuck on, sweet, sour, bitter, and salty.
Basics.
To really elevate your descriptions, you need to master the 5th taste, which is savory.
Oh, I am so glad you brought up savory.
Yeah.
I hear it constantly on cooking competitions, but I feel like people are really intimidated to use it in real life.
They are, yeah.
It feels like one of those words that belongs strictly to professional chefs. When I think of savory, my mind just goes to salty but fancy. But there's more going on there chemically, right?
Much more. Savory is the English translation, essentially, for the concept of umami.
Oh, umami, okay.
Right. It describes a deep, rich, satisfying flavor profile that relies heavily on amino acids like glutamate.
So not just salt.
Not at all. It is salty, yes, but it's also meaty, earthy, and distinctly not sweet. You find that savory profile in a perfectly seared steak, aged cheeses, slow-simmered bone broths, or roasted mushrooms.
Oh, man, you're making me hungry.
It's the best flavor profile. When you use the word savory, you are signaling to the table that you recognize a complex, hearty depth in the food that goes far beyond just hitting the salt receptors on your tongue.
Okay, so that gives us a major upgrade for the taste column. But if taste is the melody of a song, texture is the bass line.
I love that. The bass line.
Right. You might not actively think about the fact that your food has a texture, but if that texture is wrong, if the bass line drops out, the whole experience is completely ruined. Like a soggy potato chip is a tragedy, even if it tastes exactly the same as a fresh one.
That is a perfect metaphor. And honestly, English vocabulary places a massive premium on texture. Understanding how to articulate mouthfeel is really what separates a casual diner from someone who sounds like a pro.
The physical behavior of the food when it hits your teeth is just crucial.
Exactly.
Well, I want to challenge you on 2 texture words that I think confuse absolutely everyone. Crispy versus crunchy.
The big debate.
People use them interchangeably all the time. Are we just splitting hairs here, or is there a legitimate physical distinction between the two?
There is a very distinct physical difference, actually, and it comes down to physics and acoustics.
Wait, really?
Acoustics, yes. Crispy describes something that is light, thin, and delicate. When you bite into it, it shatters easily. The sound is higher pitched.
Oh, like a high-pitched shatter.
Think about a thin, perfectly fried potato chip, or the delicate skin on fried chicken. It shatters with very little jaw pressure.
Okay, so crispy is a delicate shattering. That makes sense.
Right. Crunchy, on the other hand, describes structural integrity. It is for harder, denser foods that require significant jaw work to break down.
Jaw work. Got it.
When you bite into a raw carrot or a handful of roasted almonds, you get a deep, resonant, low-pitched sound. That solid resistance is crunchy.
That is fascinating.
And from an evolutionary psychology standpoint, humans are obsessed with both of these textures because they historically signaled freshness. A crispy leaf or a crunchy root vegetable meant it was fresh and safe to eat, whereas softness might indicate rot.
That makes so much sense. We are literally biologically wired to enjoy the shattering of crispy chicken skin. I love that so much.
You really are.
Now, what about the opposite end of the spectrum?
Yeah.
Baked goods. I know what word we have to discuss, and honestly, half the people I know physically cringe when they hear it.
Oh, no. I know where this is going.
Moist.
There it is.
Is there a scientific reason we use a word everyone claims to hate to describe something we universally love, like a good cake?
Word aversion is such a fascinating psychological phenomenon, and moist is famously one of the most disliked words in the English language.
Because it just sounds,
People associate it with dampness in really unpleasant contexts. But in the culinary world, you simply cannot escape it. For baked goods, it is the holy grail.
You literally have to use it.
You do. Moist means the crumb of the cake has retained a delicate, precise balance of water and fats like butter or oil during the baking process. If a cake lacks that moisture, it is dry, and a dry cake is a failed cake.
Nobody wants a dry cake.
Exactly. So despite the aversion, it remains the absolute ultimate compliment for a baker.
We just have to get over our collective discomfort and use the word, if I am eating a heavy chocolate cake, I want that slight dampness. Now, If we move from cakes to something like a pureed soup, say like a roasted butternut squash soup, we're looking for a completely different sensory experience.
Yes, for pureed or blended dishes, the goal is the absence of resistance. You are looking for words like creamy or smooth.
Creamy.
This implies a luxurious texture that coats the palate evenly. Psychologically, creamy textures are heavily associated with comfort and satiety.
That makes a lot of sense. Comfort food.
And finally, if we are talking about proteins, particularly a steak or a thick burger, the golden word is juicy. This indicates that the chef used the proper technique to ensure the meat retained its internal liquids and rendered fats, rather than letting it dry out on the grill.
Okay, let me recap this. So we have crispy for that light, high-pitched shattering, crunchy for dense structural integrity, moist for perfectly balanced cakes, creamy for velvety soups, and juicy for properly cooked meats.
You've got it perfectly.
Having these specific words in your back pocket is incredibly powerful. But if you really want to elevate your conversation, you can't just drop single words like flashcards.
No, that would sound a bit strained.
Right. You need to know how to string them together into natural, descriptive phrases.
That is where you transition from simply observing the food to actually critiquing it. It's about weaving these concepts into the natural flow of conversation. And there are several advanced phrases that do exactly this by describing the mechanics of the food in real time.
Okay, let's unpack one of the most famous ones, melts in your mouth. Obviously, unless we are talking about actual ice cream, the food is not literally turning into a liquid. What is physically happening when we use this phrase?
It is a brilliant metaphorical phrase that actually has roots in thermal dynamics.
Thermal dynamics, really?
Yeah. When we say something melts in your mouth, we are describing food that is so soft or has a specific type of fat content that it requires almost zero mechanical chewing.
Oh, like a really good steak.
Exactly. Think about a piece of high-quality Wagyu beef or a very expensive truffle chocolate. The fats in those items literally begin to soften and dissolve at human body temperature.
Wow, so it actually is kind of melting.
It is. It feels as though the food is magically disappearing on your tongue. It is the highest praise you can give for a luxurious texture.
Okay, and when we were talking about luxurious foods, another word that comes up constantly is rich. When I hear a pasta dish described as rich, it is usually a warning sign that I'm going to need a serious nap afterward.
Pretty much.
We're talking heavy cream, butter, intense density, right?
Spot on. Rich is a satiety signal. It describes a dish that is heavy and incredibly satisfying, usually because it is packed with dense calories from butter, heavy cream, cheeses, or egg yolks.
The good stuff.
Right. A rich dish is one where you only need a few bites to feel completely overwhelmed by the depth of the flavor and the weight of the ingredients.
Okay, now here is a distinction that I think is going to be a huge aha moment for you listening, because it completely changes your posture at the dinner table.
Yeah.
What is the actual difference between saying a dish is delicious and saying it is flavorful?
Oh, this is important.
They seem totally interchangeable to me, but they're playing completely different roles, aren't they?
The difference between those two words is profound. Delicious is entirely subjective. It is your personal emotional reaction to the food. You might personally think a plain, unseasoned boiled potato is delicious because it reminds you of your childhood.
Right, but nobody else would.
Exactly. But flavorful is an objective description of the actual composition of the dish.
Oh, it shifts you from a passive consumer to an active critic.
Exactly. When you say a dish is flavorful, you are making an objective observation that the chef has utilized a high volume of spices, herbs, aromatics, or complex seasonings. You are acknowledging the technique and the ingredient density.
Wait, so I could eat a dish, recognize that it is highly flavorful because it's packed with complex spices, but still politely acknowledge that it's not personally delicious to me.
Yes. You can acknowledge the skill without having to fake your own subjective enjoyment.
That is such an empowering distinction. It allows you to compliment the chef without lying. And before we put all this into practice, we should touch on one more. Tender.
Yes. Tender implies a yielding quality, specifically regarding muscle fibers in meat or the structure of seafood.
Like calamari.
Perfect example. If you order crispy calamari, you want the exterior breading to give you that delicate, shattering crisp, but you want the squid inside to be tender, meaning the fibers part easily beneath your teeth rather than fighting back like a rubber band.
Ugh, rubbery calamari is the worst. Okay, let's put this entire toolkit to work. We have the formula, the expanded taste vocabulary, the texture bass lines, and these advanced phrases.
We are ready.
Imagine you are sitting at that high-stakes lunch we talked about, and you are served a steaming bowl of authentic ramen. How do we navigate this without saying delicious?
You focus on the layers of the dish. Using the framework, you might say, the broth is incredibly savory and rich, and the pork is so tender it just melts in your mouth. You absolutely have to try this.
Okay, wait, let's break that down. You hit the pace with savory.
Right.
You establish the weight with rich.
Yeah.
You describe the physical mechanics with tender and melts in your mouth, and you close with a confident recommendation.
It sounds effortless, but it is absolutely packed with data.
What if we are at the end of the meal, the dessert course arrives, and it's like a lemon tart?
Well, with dessert, especially fruit-based ones, you really want to highlight the contrast. You could say the filling has a very bright, sour taste, but the crust is so incredibly sweet and perfectly crispy. It is a brilliant combination.
Again, mapping out the sensory experience.
Exactly.
It is night and day compared to the delicious loop.
Mm.
Now, knowing the words is one thing, but actually deploying them in the real world comes with its own set of unwritten cultural rules. And I think we need to talk about the yummy rule.
Oh, yes. The yummy rule is a crucial piece of social etiquette.
I feel like a lot of people are guilty of this one.
They are. Yummy is a word that infantilizes your palate. It is perfectly fine if you are writing a casual social media caption with a hashtag or, if you're speaking to a toddler.
Sure.
But in a professional setting, using the word yummy to describe a complex, expensive meal completely undercuts the sophisticated, observant image you're trying to project.
Bottom line,
Yeah.
keep yummy off the clock.
Yes.
Stick to savory, rich, and flavorful when you are with your boss. But what about the anxiety of dealing with the restaurant staff? If you're listening to this and thinking, I am going to freeze up and forget all of these nuanced words the second the waiter approaches, you are not alone.
It's a lot of pressure.
In Western dining, the waiter always does that mid-meal check-in. How is everything tasting? What is the strategy there?
The strategy is brevity. People often panic in that moment and either mumble good to the floor or they overcompensate and try to deliver a 5-minute monologue reviewing the dish.
Like there's suddenly a food critic on TV.
Exactly. The waiter does not have time for a monologue. The best approach is a short, highly specific answer that utilizes just one piece of your new vocabulary. You look them in the eye and say, "It is fantastic, thank you. The steak is incredibly tender."
The steak is incredibly tender. I love that because it's polite, it's concise, but it gives the staff a specific piece of positive feedback they can actually take back to the kitchen.
Exactly. It proves you are paying attention to the food they prepared. It demonstrates quiet confidence.
And speaking of Western dining culture, there is one final non-negotiable rule that pairs with your vocabulary, right? Tipping.
Absolutely. In the United States, tipping between 18% and 20% is a foundational part of the social contract of dining out. All the sophisticated vocabulary in the world cannot replace the cultural expectation of financially compensating the service staff.
Right. Your verbal appreciation has to match your financial appreciation. You cannot just say the food was flavorful and then leave a 5% tip.
The math just does not work.
It really doesn't.
Ugh.
So where does this leave you, the listener? Let's bring all of this together. You are now officially equipped with the ultimate foodie toolkit.
You have the foundational formula: taste plus texture plus recommendation.
You have expanded your taste horizons to include the depth of savory. You understand the physics of texture, the shatter of crispy versus the structural integrity of crunchy, and the vital importance of moist, creamy, and juicy.
And you can confidently navigate objective phrases like flavorful instead of hiding behind the subjective delicious.
You are unequivocally immune to the delicious marathon.
You really are. And the beauty of this toolkit is how seamlessly it integrates into your life. My challenge to you is simple. The next time you sit down for a meal, whether it is that high-stakes business lunch or just a Tuesday night dinner in your own kitchen, force yourself to take a 3-second mental pause before you offer an opinion.
A 3-second pause, okay.
Yes. In that pause, actively identify the specific taste and the physical texture of what is currently on your palate. Just categorizing the data in your head will naturally prompt you to use this new vocabulary.
It forces you to be genuinely present with your food. And that actually leads to a thought I really want to leave you with today. We have spent this entire deep dive discussing how to change the words you use to describe your food to other people.
Right.
But there is a concept in linguistics called the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which suggests that the language we use fundamentally limits or expands how we perceive reality.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, if language shapes perception, Does having a richer, more specific food vocabulary actually change the neural pathways in your brain? Does having the words savory or crispy readily available actually make your meals taste better and more vibrant to you?
Wow.
Think about that the next time you take a bite. Are you experiencing more joy simply because you finally have the words to describe it?
That is a brilliant question. It suggests that expanding your vocabulary isn't just about impressing the table, it's about enriching your own internal experience of the world.
And what a great reason to keep learning. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It has been an absolute pleasure crafting this toolkit specifically for you.
No more broken records.
Exactly. No more panic when the chef's special arrives. You are officially ready to take your seat at the table. Until next time.